Hello, my little evil twins. This is Movies, Music, and Moods. I'm Noey, and this is a podcast journal for me to talk about what I think is magic and mystifying and memeable about the media I watch and listen to, interact with, consume, what have you. This episode, I'm so excited to talk about 2 albums and a movie, so it's similar to last week. I just can't seem to stick to one album. The albums are Guitar Graffiti by Chris Spedding and Zango by Witch. The movie, having absolutely no connection to this music, is The Intern from 2015. Yeah. I'm also applying my magic, mystifying, memeable structure to music this time. If anyone's listening thinking, okay, well, why the hell didn't you do that in the first place? Well, I didn't know if I was going to like it. I don't know if I'm going to change things around here, okay? It's my prerogative. So, I don't know if that was weird to you. I totally get it. I kind of just went back to the drawing board and came out with this decision. So the first album, Guitar Graffiti by Chris Spedding, I was just listening to Shuffle or something and was recommended Video Life. And this album, he had me in the first half, I'm not gonna lie. The first part of the album is a little more glam, it's a little more new wave, still very English. And then the blues roots definitely start to show. Chris Spedding's done a lot of blues and a lot of jazz, so that makes perfect sense. In fact, Chris Spedding's career has been totally out of control. It's kind of overwhelming to see how many people he's worked with. He was a session guitarist. He's been a member of, according to Wikipedia, 11 rock bands. He produced the very first Sex Pistols recordings. He's played on Brian Eno albums. He's toured with Roxy Music. He's a friend of Chrissie Hynde, Midwest connection there, Ohio. According to Wikipedia, he played on their 1980 tours. Of course, he played solos on their version of the Kinks song, Stop Your Sobbing. Chrissie Hynde, of course, being famously a Kinks fan. He played on Harry Nilsson's Nilsson Schmielsen and Son of Schmielsen. His guitar style and tone is so familiar to me. And just rattling off a bunch of those random attributions the way I did kind of proves to me that I've heard him a lot and had no idea that that was him. For some reason, I kept thinking a lot of these songs reminded me of something related to Brian Eno. So I checked all the personnel on his albums, and he didn't even play on the albums I thought sounded familiar to me. Just Robert Fripp. But I'm going to move on from that and just accept that. Probably heard Chris Spedding's work all over the place and was just in the dark. So what did I find magic about Guitar Graffiti? The first track, Video Life. Again, I felt it reminded me of Another Green World by Eno, but I'm not sure where I was really getting that. I do feel it's very English. I love the layered guitars. It uses repetition in an interesting way. And it feels like such a nostalgic song. I listened to it on a walk recently and the sun was shining. It was really beautiful. I also think the second track, Radio Times, is magic. It shows off his guitar skills. There are a lot of like blues licks. It feels very Beatles. This song is truly nourishing. It's like a glass of water. The vocals are like, through a radio. And yet again, I can't figure out what this song reminds me of. But I do feel a Roxy Music phase bubbling up inside of me. Another magic track on the album is Walking. I know I was just talking about taking a walk. You can take a walk to this one too. I think this one's a fun little rock song. I might even go out on a limb and take a walk to this one. Now, what did I find mystifying about the album? I think mystifying works really well for movies because for the most part, a movie's trying to tell a story. An album doesn't have to tell a story, really. So mystifying when it comes to music to me is like, what was the intention? Why is this song so weird? Or maybe it's mystifying to me because I just straight up don't like it. So that was the direction I went in here when I was listening to this one. I would say there are a handful of songs I find mystifying. First, Breakout. It's not bad. It's not a bad song. It's just kind of boring and tedious to me. The song Bored, I also felt was mystifying. It genuinely bores me. So if that was the intention, then it's not mystifying. You did it, Chris. You delivered. I can definitely see Elvis Costello doing this one, and then would I still be as bored? I don't know. Another one that I'm just personally not a fan of, so I'm going to put it under mystifying, is Hey Miss Betty. This one sounds like it was live, and there are other genuinely live tracks that are noted here. It's upbeat, it's energetic, I'm just kind of annoyed with it. It's one of the few times on Guitar Graffiti where we really get to hear his voice very clearly, and I'm just not getting very much payoff here. But I can totally see someone else who likes the style more really getting into this one. Another one is Gunfight. Gunfight delivers exactly what you would expect it to deliver. It's just not my thing, but it's legit. I can see how it would have appealed to his generation. You know, John Wayne, Wild West movies, etc. I definitely think some songs are memeable. So here are the ones I thought were memeable. First and foremost, Time Warp. I absolutely love Time Warp, and I like to imagine this song in a TV production of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. That's just me. Those are just the little stories I tell myself. But I like imagining being on like some kind of space bus. I think when it comes to music, memeable will be my highest praise, truly. Another memeable song that's probably going to get old pretty quickly, like the song it reminds me of, is Evil. I'm drawing a direct correlation between this song and the Kink song He's Evil. I love the backing vocals in this one, singing, "It's in the blood, it's in the blood." In fact, that's been in my head recording this entire time. So just remember that anything I'm saying right now, in my head I'm actually playing, "It's in the blood, it's in the blood," and maybe that will provide some comfort to you. I do have some extra special mentions I want to throw out here, and I want to start doing this for every album that I talk about. Most likely to get stuck in your head. So it's the earworm on this album. Personally, it's a tie between Midnight Boys and Evil. Obviously, as I mentioned, It's in the Blood is pretty much stuck in my head right now, but Midnight Boys I can see definitely getting stuck in your head. I don't think Midnight Boys is memeable. I don't think it's mystifying. And I can see it being magic. It's got some great, really emotional, whining guitar work. Chris Spedding's style is absolutely emotional, which I love. He's clearly skilled, he's clearly talented, but he keeps that emotion in his work. So Midnight Boys gets the award for most likely to get stuck in your head. Now the next award, this one changes based on the album. This is most likely to be the song that you drink a beer at the Blues Fest to. And that one's going to go to one song I haven't had the chance to talk about, Frontal Lobotomy. This one's just a straight-up blues jam. This one and the aptly named More Lobotomy Parts 1 and 2 count for this. I'm not talking about Breakout live. I have a thing about live versions. I'm actually not a big fan of live versions of songs. Some people eat them up, though. And every once in a while, you'll get a live version that just blows everything out of the water. Like the band does something fun or new with it. And so you listen to it always. That's not the case for me very often. So I'm not really going to mention that. But Frontal Lobotomy, you're sitting there, your little fold-up chair at the Blues Fest. You got a beer in one hand. What are you hearing? You're hearing Frontal Lobotomy. So that's Guitar Graffiti by Chris Spedding. I'm definitely going to check out more of his work. I mean, this album, it doesn't even have a Wikipedia page, so I think it's just one of the many projects he worked on around this time. The next album I've been really into is by the Zamrock group Witch. I didn't know about Zamrock's existence before this, and I just want to say that everything I'll be discussing with Witch and Zamrock and Zambia in general is not exhaustive. If you want to know more, please get on Google or your favorite search engine and do some reading. I'm just going to cover a few key points that stuck out to me. Witch is one of the more notable Zamrock bands, and Zamrock is a shortening of Zambian rock. I found this album because, apparently according to Spotify, Witch took over their Zamrock playlist for a week or something, and I was really drawn to the album cover for Zango, and Zango came out last year. When you know a bit of history about Witch, It's pretty freaking awesome that it came out last year because they've been around since the 70s. Like a lot of other Zamrock artists, they've incorporated psychedelic and hard rock and blues and funk and garage rock into their style. And which is not just an acronym, but a backronym, which I just discovered existed, which stands for We Intend to Cause Havoc. The band today consists of the lead vocalist, Emmanuel Jagari Chanda, as well as the keyboardist, Patrick Mwandela, and a group of newer musicians. Zamrock in general, and which is not an exception for this, essentially ended due to not only the AIDS epidemic, but general turmoil, including economic turmoil in and around Zambia. And you'll see references to this throughout the album. So what did I find magic? Definitely the very first track, By the Time You Realize. This is the first one I got into, aside from Stop the Rot. I love the fuzzy guitar. Zamrock has a lot of wah-wah pedal, which is perfect for me. I never get sick of wah-wah pedal. And the cowbell in this is so satisfying. This one is heavy in sound and in lyrics. You can't really beat By the Time You Realize I'll Be Gone. You better change, my dear, before it's too late. It's a warning. This song is a threat, but in, the nicest way possible. The next Magic song is Wile. And check out this one on Bandcamp, because this one actually has a write-up. The keyboard player, Patrick Mwandela, states that this is one of the songs he added to Witch's repertoire at the end of the 70s, and that this is one that they played live a lot of times, so this one actually is an older song. But Wile, you hear a wailing in this song. This one feels anxious and powerful. It feels like a response, like the consequence of something, almost like a storm rolling in. There's this frenetic energy. Another absolutely magic song is Nishingalile. I'm probably saying that wrong, but I tried. And this one's featuring Keith Cobway of Amanaz, which is another Zamrock group. This one's actually my favorite on the entire album. It's a religious song about Jesus, which I can respect. This song is a total jam. In my notes I wrote, shit, damn. The next magic song is Malongo, and this one features Teresa Ngambi and Hannah Tembo. And they provide so much to this album. I'm kind of obsessed with their vocals. The keyboards are swirly. The steady beat just kind of tickles my brain. There is a beautiful guitar lead just held in the background. It's really bright. It just turns into a real jam. Another magic track is Stop the Rot. This was actually the first one I heard. I was playing this on New Year's. We had some family over. And this one tells a story of death and hell, witches and wizards, and people you just can't trust. The lyrics are pretty metal. They have so much emotion. I think this one's also touching on the migrant experience in Zambia. I love these lyrics, and these are translated to English. Here where we have come is a foreign land. Even coffins have to be bought. You pay even for the soil grave. They sell even the soil grave as if they created it. They will burn in hell. These people are notorious witches and wizards. And the last set of lines at the end. You are flying naked. Other people are making phones. They're flying in their suits, but you fly naked. It makes me think this person or this entity doesn't hide their evil behind modern necessity. This one's just really fun to dig into. So those were the magic songs. What did I find mystifying about the album? Not very much. What I may find mystifying might be someone's favorite on the album. I think we all know that. But I would say my least favorite would be These Eyes of Mine. It's beautiful. It's a slower, softer song than the rest. I think it just starts to lose itself towards the end, but it's still extremely powerful. I love the vocals. I love the keyboard solo at the end, but otherwise you can just ignore me. Memeable for me is a toss-up between Unamvwesha Sugar and Avalanche of Love, but I'm going with Unamvwesha Sugar. Yeah, I've said that twice. I'm not sure I did it right. But this one is so sultry and feminine and fun, and I have no idea what they are saying, so please forgive me. but I love the vocal squeals and the shouts. This one again features Teresa Ngambi and Hannah Tembo. And there's this like layering of breaths. And the keyboard or the organ, totally out of control. And another memeable track, which to me, when it comes to music, and movies for that matter, memeable is something I just find iconic. And so Message from Which is memeable. It is iconic. Who doesn't love a beautiful spoken tribute set to music? I think all end movie credits should start out like this. I love ending the album in this way. I love the delivery of this entire song, especially the word or message is love. Taste it. If you don't like it, pass it back. Now, which song is most likely to get stuck in your head? I'd have to say Avalanche of Love. This one's going to get stuck in your head all the time. This one is featuring Sampa the Great. It's so synthy. I love the vocals. It's smooth. It's energetic. There's this like breaking and splitting of syllables throughout and hooting. Really don't get enough hooting in music these days. That's one of my main complaints. When the vocals pass over to the male singer, it kind of makes the song more mischievous. And listen, this is a sexual song, okay? We can't deny it. But the song really twists into this build-up. What do I always say? I could listen to that one right now. And the award for most likely to be the song that you cook your favorite meal to goes to Streets of Lusaka, with Lusaka being the capital of Zambia. It's like a happy love letter to Zambian towns, with this real hint of sadness, with the mention of war. To quote, they've got no desire for war. And there's this really cool sound at the end that sounds like when you put your ear to a slinky, except none of your hair's getting caught in it, which is my main memory of slinkies. So the next time you cook your favorite meal, put the Streets of Lusaka on. You won't be sorry. And that's Zango. And this one especially just reminds me to do anything I can to not get stuck in a musical rut, because if I'm just listening to the same stuff all the time, I could have missed this. So this has just kind of opened up a whole world of Zamrock for me. And yeah, I'm new to it, but better late than never, right? I'm not sure what music I'll want to talk about next, but I just got the 5th anniversary vinyl of Arthur's Woof Woof album, which is one of my favorite albums of literally all time. I've listened to it a million times. It's very dear to me, like all of Arthur's music. So I'm looking forward to maybe revisiting that. We'll see how I feel. So I think it's movie time. Let's get into the movie of the week. And this one's a sweet one. It's The Intern. This one was recommended to me by my dad. I had absolutely no expectations for this one, aside from I didn't think I was going to like it very much. Just looking at the cover, just kind of looked like a generic rom-com, except I had no idea where Robert DeNiro came in. And I had a feeling, I had this like prediction that the movie was just going to be teasing old people the whole time, which wasn't going to make me feel too good. In fact, my big prediction was that it was really just going to be a clash of generational styles between Robert De Niro and Anne Hathaway. And I'm happy to say the movie didn't go in that direction. It actually headed into a lot of emotional and wholesome territory. I will say wholesome for the most part, because I am going to be talking about some scenes which I felt kind of subtracted some wholesomeness, but maybe I'm just too cranky. I don't know. Now, The Intern is a Nancy Meyers movie. And if you've seen other Nancy Meyers movies, which you have, because obviously you've seen The Parent Trap and The Holiday, you expect something from these movies. I did get one thing I expected from the movie, and that was that the score just annoyed me. I hate that, like, we're trying to inspire you music. And I think the best it can do is just stay out of the way and let me just focus on the story, because it's not going to inspire me. At the end of the day, this movie isn't Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. Nothing can be Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. And because of my prediction that the movie was just going to be younger people being mean to old people, I was prepared to just cringe a lot, because I have a real problem with people being mean to sweet old people. I really do. If they're mean, go ahead and yell at them, but I was scared. Now, I am a Robert De Niro fan, but I'm not exactly an Anne Hathaway fan. Not a big fan of her acting. She kind of has like a Disney princess thing going for her at all times, where I feel like she's just trying. She's pretty. She's beautiful, right? And I feel like she's very aware of that when she's acting. I guess I just want more ugly faces, less lip biting. I don't want to feel like you're reading from a script when I'm watching you. So I just think she's not my thing. But I think this one came closest to me really liking her, because I was certainly rooting for her throughout the movie. I mentioned this one is from 2015. There's a lot of business casual in this movie. I was wearing business casual in 2015, and I love 2015 business casual. I'll be the first to say it. I'll be the first to make that bold claim. Right off the bat, I was worried the movie was going to have this inane narration instead of actually showing us things. But thankfully, that was just Robert De Niro's, his video cover letter. I actually think a video cover letter is worse than a regular cover letter. I'm sure it's fun for other people. I think it's fun for the person who receives it, but that would be completely nerve-wracking for the person having to make it, especially if, you're not an actor who's doing auditions all the time. You're applying for an internship role, which, by the way, they never talk about pay for these elder interns they're hiring. Obviously, Robert De Niro's character doesn't need any cash. He's doing more than fine financially, but you really hope that they're giving them something, at least like Tim Hortons gift cards. Now, what did I think was magic about the intern? During his video cover letter, Robert De Niro was in his granddaughter's bunk bed. That was so precious. I thought the fact that so many of the characters were just kind was magic. Robert De Niro's character in general is such a great example of positive masculinity. I love that he mentors the younger male coworkers. I think that would be awesome for any man in his 20s to have an older male mentor. The group of younger guys that included Adam Devine and Zach Perlman and Jason Orley were really delightful. It was so sweet seeing the things they picked up from Robert De Niro's character throughout the movie. Jason Orley just straight up started wearing shirts with collars, and he also got a suitcase similar to Robert De Niro's 73 attaché case. I saw a lot of people on Letterboxd saying that they wish they'd had a best friend like Robert De Niro. And yeah, this movie is definitely showing you, here's what your best friend could be. He could be a sweet, way, way too helpful grandpa or father best friend, who's also, totally loaded, let's be honest here. I really like the detail of that messy junk drawer desk bothering her like no other, and then it being a turning point in their relationship when Robert De Niro cleaned it up, even though I felt bad that he came in early to do that, of course. I thought the whole cast was pretty magic. I loved the little girl, Paige, played by JoJo Kushner. I loved Celia Weston as Doris, especially that she just absolutely cannot drive in New York. I'm sure I can't either, so I felt that was relatable. Zach Perlman as Davis was excellent. I loved his character, even though I did notice the, fat character is stress eating trope, which is not one of my favorite fat person tropes, to be honest with you. But the heist scene was magic for me. I'm sure a lot of people feel it was totally out of place, but it was funny and chaotic, and I think the movie needed some energy, even though I do think the premise of that was a little mystifying. I'll get to that. I like that Adam Devine, he can deliver just a totally asshole line, and you still like him. You still think he's funny and endearing. How do some people just have that power? So I thought the movie overall was magic, and I would definitely watch it again. But there were large parts of it that were downright mystifying, and here's what those parts were. Were we supposed to think that Anne Hathaway's customer service at the beginning of the movie was really good? Because all I could think of was, she can't keep doing that if she's in customer service. She'll burn herself out immediately. And then it made sense finding out that she was the founder of the business, because she gave that a lot of energy. She was acting on that phone. I was really glad that she didn't keep riding the bike too many times throughout the movie, after that initial scene where she's literally wearing heels and a skirt and no helmet. No helmet alert. It's never a fun one for me. I will say the plot starting early, it was very helpful to me. I've complained about that many times, that a lot of newer movies just take forever to get to the point. And when they're trying to show you that Anne Hathaway's really capable and hands-on with all of her employees, when she was looking at that page and they were talking about 5 body types in the same shirt, I didn't see any other body types aside from thin, but nice try, 2015. I was really worried it was going to be a movie about a character who's perfect at everything, and I just can't handle a Rory Gilmore right now, or maybe ever again, without some big downfall. But that was not the purpose of the movie. I'm not sure if anyone else was watching it kind of just looking for HR violations, but the whole thing was one big HR violation. I'm, of course, talking about the massage therapist Fiona, who just immediately starts sexually harassing Robert De Niro. And then we have to watch other characters giggle and make references to his boner. That didn't seem necessary, personally. That one did not age so well. I think they were trying to do like a playful, yeah, old people can get it too. That probably could have been handled a little more sensitively or romantically or something. I guess I'm probably just not the audience for it. And why did we see Robert De Niro's bare feet so many times in this movie? I feel like we were constantly being accosted with his feet. And here's how I feel about people's feet. I think they should be secret. I don't want to know about them. I think the bipolar jokes sucked. And I think the weight gain thing was clearly supposed to be an example of Anne Hathaway's mom being a jerk. But as usual, it was just like, fat phobic. I thought that Skype call was mystifying because it was clearly like a movie camera, and Zoom doesn't even look like that now. I thought it was crazy that they were asking her to bring guac for 18 kids. Like, I want the numbers on that. How many of those kids are even going to eat the guac? Maybe that's just coming from me, because I feel like I didn't have guacamole until I was maybe a teenager, and that's my problem. But I'd be surprised at that school how much of that guac was going to be eaten. Christina Scherer as Becky saying, "I hate girls who cry at work." Yes, you hate girls who cry at work because you've been socialized to hate women. Next. Anne Hathaway looking at her multi-million-dollar brownstone house and saying, "This house just makes me so happy." Yeah, I bet it does make you happy. That's like when really rich people will be like, "We decided to buy the yacht, but my husband loves it." Yeah, he does love his yacht. That's a great thing to own. I'm sure that's very enriching. I bet a multi-million-dollar brownstone would make a lot of people happy. Okay, I loved the heist scene, but the premise was stressing me out because it seemed like the most important thing on everyone's plates. There are only like 220 some people working at this startup. It seems like the most important thing for them to handle was the fact that their warehouse was potentially filled with bed bugs, which in my opinion, I feel like that would just spell the end for your entire company. But no, Anne Hathaway is like, I'm going to send 4 employees to go delete an email I sent to my mom about her being a terrorist. And I thought that email was funny. But I feel like they should have separated the days in which each of those kind of different disasters happened. And I don't know, Anne Hathaway, maybe you need to talk to your mom and say, "Listen, the way you treat me makes me send my husband emails telling him that you're a bitch and a terrorist. So let's work our way back from that and try to handle this." She might need to go no contact. I don't know. And I think the biggest mystifying part of this movie was the affair. I'm watching it thinking, wow, this is being handled very sensitively and gently, and no one so far is having a big fight or crying or breaking down. And I think there should have been more of that. And Robert De Niro is telling Anne Hathaway, you don't deserve to be cheated on just because your husband had to quit a job he liked so that you could go forward with this business of yours. So you get the sense from him that he wouldn't want her to just go back to him and try to make things work. And that's exactly what she does. I thought that was the worst. Well, okay, other than the sexual harassment from the massage therapist, I thought that was absolutely the worst part of the movie. I'm not sure they did a good enough job convincing us that Anders Holm's character, Matt, or who I refer to as Casey from the Mindy Project, was that great. Like, clearly he was a father who was doing the right things, and he seemed to like or love his wife in some way. But what a shithead. I was actually getting excited for the scene where she confronts him and then they split up and then they figure out what they have to do. But then they just kind of touch hands and she forgives him. Don't forgive him. First, he put your health at risk cheating on you. Like, they didn't go into exactly what he was doing with that other woman, but he's a cheater. Am I crazy? My gosh. Has the whole world gone mad? Has the world of Nancy Meyers in 2015's The Intern gone mad? Because I think so. I just wanted a little bit more juiciness there. I really just wanted her to kind of dump him. I think she can do better. I think she can find a man who is a good father and doesn't cheat on her. That's just me. The scene in the hotel room, I was terrified. I was terrified they were going to try to pair up Robert De Niro and Anne Hathaway and just completely sully the message of the entire movie. I watched this really freaky Jennifer Aniston movie years ago, and I don't know why I watched this movie. I watched that movie with Tim. It's not a movie that we would like, but I just put it on, and the whole time, she's not sure if this guy is her father and if she should sleep with him. I know, disgusting, right? That was the anxiety I felt watching that movie was similar to me watching The Intern, worried that Anne Hathaway was going to try something with Robert De Niro, because he looked terrified too. I feel maybe that was not totally my fault, and I don't think I'm the only person who picked up on that, and so I feel like that either could have been removed or just toned down from The Intern in general. So what did I think was memeable about The Intern? Definitely when Anders Holm said, "We're like your sister wives." Loved that. I loved the entire experience of Robert De Niro's character, Ben, being like a really crazy, helpful butler / father figure to her. The whole movie, I'm like, wow, what is he to her? He's like a dad or a butler, a friend. He was a friend to her, Noey. That's the word you're thinking of. I think my brain is just rotten or something. So overall, I was pleasantly surprised by this one. Just looking at the poster art, really felt like it was just going to be generic and goofy and maybe just stupid. But it was really bittersweet. I know I said wholesome earlier. Certainly worth checking out. And I think it did such a good job of making the older characters be real human beings and not some kind of generational joke. I hope I have any of the energy of the older interns in this movie when I'm 70. That was a big takeaway for me. That ends the movie section. Let's get to moods. How am I feeling? I'm exhausted. I'm tired. I'm so tired. Will there be a time when I'm not tired? And do I say this every January? Probably. I pretty much just want to take naps exclusively. At least just be laying down. I've been making sure I'm taking my walks, so I'm going outside, getting that frigid air, which I love. But I don't know if I just need to make the walks like 4 times longer so that I can drum up some more energy. Winter in temperate climates is hard, folks. It's probably time for me to start playing The Sims 4 or Stardew Valley. Can already feel that happening along with listening to Roxy music. If you made it this far, I just want to say that I appreciate you. Thank you so much for listening. If you can find it in your heart, please feel free to share this. Share it with someone you like, who you think might like it. Share it with someone you don't like, you think won't like it, as punishment for that time they were really weird to you at that party. So thank you for being there, and we'll talk soon.